Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rush Hour Sports Network. It is your host, Jay Smooth, as always, and of course, on the program today, of course, is B Money, always here to give his insight as well as his predictions. Always great to have you back on.
I'm here. I'm ready to talk some football. Let's go.
All right, let's get into it. Now, I would say one of the things we should really point out this week is that there were some firsts this week that went down surprisingly. A couple firsts that went down. Of course, let's start on Thursday night, though. Of course, with the Buccaneers and Eagles. The Eagles put up a good effort, but in the end, the Buccaneers were able to pull away by 6, 28-22. Buccaneers improved to 5-1. Eagles are 2-4, right about where we thought they would be. The Dolphins go to London, and they don't get a win over the Jags. The Jaguars get their first win of the season. Urban Meyer had to go all the way to London, outside of the United States, to get his first win in the NFL. How about that? 23-20. And look, it was all thanks to his kicker. His kicker nailed a long field goal. A kicker who, by the way, had been having a horrible season up until last Sunday's game. Easily had the best.
You saw that the way he curved that one to tie the game.
Yeah, he did, man. That was an insane curve right there. Because when you first saw the kick go up, it looks like it's just going to completely shank and miss. But then all of a sudden, it just curved down perfectly, goes right through the uprights. One of the craziest kicks of the year.
Yeah, it was wild.
By far, man. And what's crazy is that
I'd say it was skillful, but I think that was the first kick that kicker made all season.
It's got to be. I don't know what it is about the air quality in London. Maybe the wind was blowing through that open-air stadium, but I don't know, man. That ball moved in a way I didn't see for that kicker, because normally that kicker shanks them. At least in the United States he does. Speaking of shanked opportunities, oh my goodness. The Chiefs skull drag the Washington football team at home 31-13. By the way, this was literally like the equivalent of digging up a dead body and dragging it up and down the field, because this was Sean Taylor Appreciation Day. And how was Sean Taylor remembered with his jersey number being retired? Patrick Mahomes' brother Jackson Mahomes does a TikTok dance right on top of Sean Taylor's jersey number that is painted into the field in the most disrespectful manner. He just dances right on top of the dead. And then, of course, the Chiefs just proceed to beat the shit out of the Redskins till they're dead. Well, the Washington football team till they're dead. So, basically, the Mahomes family owns Washington, D.C., and Sean Taylor is rolling over in his grave literally looking at this, because there was no defense being played. Taylor Heineke had a horrible fucking game. Oh, my God. And you know what?
Yeah.
This really exposed Taylor Heineke. And what's worse is Washington has to go to Lambeau Field to play the Packers next. So Taylor Heineke is really about to get exposed even further. Because, he did not look like a poised quarterback on Sunday, man. I watched a good amount of this game, and I got to be honest with you. I won't be surprised if Fitzpatrick ends up basically coming back to play as soon as he's cleared to play again. I won't be surprised if they bench Heineke for him. I won't be shocked. And the only way they put in Kyle Allen, who's a third quarterback, is if Heineke and Fitzpatrick are injured. That's when you know the Washington team's really done. But, man, Heineke is not looking like the QB of the future out there, and that defense has a lot to be desired. I thought the Washington defense would be a lot better this year, one of the top in the league. They're actually at the bottom of the league, bro. They're giving up yards, they're giving up chunk plays, they're giving up points like it's nothing, you know?
Really has been surprising to see the defense play the way they have this year.
Yeah, you have all those killers on that defensive line. You know, they draft a stud linebacker, and they even have a guy like Landon Collins, a veteran safety back there, who's just getting completely burnt and looking like a wash-up. It's just an all-around bad situation, man. That defensive side of the ball for Washington is shockingly bad, bro. Like, I think a lot of people, including pundits, overrated them as being one of the best in the league. Bro, they're one of the worst in the league. They're the opposite. Complete opposite.
Yeah.
And it's wild to see, man. And speaking of terrible defenses in the NFC East, oh my God. The Giants give up 38 points to the Rams at home. They lose 38-11. 11. And Daniel Jones, once again, gets abused in a game where, I mean, let's be real. This team had no shot. The Giants are 1-5, and it's funny how people said Joe Judge was going to be the guy to turn around, and they bring in Jason Garrett. They bring in a failure to come in and help turn around a failing team. It's like basically they're trying to apply Band-Aids to a water fountain that's just spitting out water. It ain't going to work. It's not, that Band-Aid ain't going to hold the water back. It's not going to hold the pipe burst back. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. They're trying to do patchwork on an already broken team, and it's now working. And for the life of me, I think Daniel Jones is going to be broken before the season's over. He's probably already broken now because he's lost Saquon Barkley, twice in a row now? 2 years in a row?
Yeah, and I mean, coming into this game, you remember Daniel Jones had a seemingly bad concussion against the Cowboys last week. I was almost surprised that he was playing.
Yes, he did. It's funny you say that because on the injury report, I thought for sure they were going to throw in the backup guy who's, I think, some undrafted rookie or some shit. But no, they said,
Colt McCoy.
oh, it's Colt McCoy? Oh, Jesus. I forgot all about him. My God. That's even worse, actually, because he's broken from his days in Washington. Oh, man. It's even worse. My goodness, the Giants are down bad, man, and the Rams are going to continue to trend upward. But yeah, the Giants and that whole NFC East division's down bad, except for the Cowboys. But my goodness, you want to talk? And by the way, you want to talk about down bad? Look at this next game. The Colts just Seth Rollins curb stomped the Texans there, 31-3, at home. And honestly, the Colts needed a win like this, bro, because the Colts have had a rough season. Carson Wentz's body's made of paper mache, so it's hard for him to stay active. And that whole team they've looked good in a couple games, but for the most part they look bad. They look pretty flat. And of course the Texans are what we thought they were. By the way, it is very interesting to know that Deshaun Watson looks like Deshaun's gonna be there this season because nobody wants to touch him. Nobody wants to touch him. All these teams. Yeah, all these teams having QB issues. He has his legal problems that are still. It seems like it's going to be solved, the legal issues. But the thing is, once that's resolved, he's going to get a suspension from the league. No one knows how long that's going to be. And even so, once you get the guy, you're going to get a baller. But it's weird that no teams are trying to sell the farm for the guy when the Texans clearly can't hold on to him anymore. He can't be in that city anymore.
I mean, the thing is that, at this point, by the time the team gets him and, he, becomes activated or whatever, and then they have to, put him on, and then they have to do the suspension, because we're already in, 6 weeks into the season.
Right.
He's basically going to miss the entire year.
Right, and that's pretty much the reason that no one's really gonna touch him. It seems like he's gonna be in Houston for that reason alone, because as the weeks go by, his suspension looks like it's gonna be multiple games, and even when he comes back from it, he's only gonna play 1 or 2 games this season if he's lucky. Probably not even any at all, like you said. So yeah, too much of a risk right now, man. Nobody wants to take it on.
By the way, fact check, the Giants' backup quarterback is Mike Glennon.
Oh, good Lord. That's even worse. Even worse than McCoy. I thought it couldn't get worse than McCoy, but it has. Mike Glennon. Ugh. Yeah, they're in trouble.
I will say this, though, an update on Deshaun Watson. There have been some rumblings today, October 30th.
Really?
Excuse me, October 20th.
Okay.
That the Dolphins and Texans are actively in negotiations for Deshaun Watson.
See, now things have just developed here. I did not know that. And at the same time, if you look at that quarterback situation, it makes a lot of sense because, it kind of sucks that the Dolphins are sort of, kind of giving up on Tua. But this is the way but this is really a testament to what the league is now. Quarterbacks are not protected like they once were. You know what I mean? The only way they're protected is if they're good. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like, they don't allow QBs to really develop over time anymore in most scenarios. And it seems like that's what's going to happen here in Miami, especially with Tua's injury problems and the fact that backup Jacoby Brissett is getting his ass kicked every week.
Yeah, and it's tough because on one hand you could say that, like, I think it's a fair assessment that Tua maybe hasn't shown enough.
Right.
You know, as far as his play on the field.
Possible, yeah.
Part of that is because he hasn't been on the field because of injury. Part of that has been because, you know,
right.
Not every, as you've talked about, the problem about developing players, like not every quarterback is going to, you know, rule the world in year one, you know, or even year two. You know?
Yeah, it's like, it's almost as if actually, no, you're absolutely right, man. It's like if the QB is not a world beater by year one, or at least showing signs of it, then they pretty much get tossed on the side of the road. I mean, look at where Josh Rosen is. He's like on 3 to 4 different teams. The guy cannot catch a break to save his life.
Well, now he's no longer in the NFL, Josh Rosen.
Oh boy, you know what that means, don't you? He's about to either go to Canada or he's going to end up in the XFL next year when that relaunches. We're going to see him in one of the 2 minor leagues. That's a sad case right there, man. That guy went from
Actually,
a top.
Fact check. Josh Rosen is on the roster for the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, he's still there. That's the last place I heard he was at, but I thought they cut him. I guess they held on to him. And you know what? I'll tell you this, bro. If Josh Rosen doesn't work out in Atlanta, then we're going to see him in Canada or XFL.
Yes, he is currently the second-string quarterback behind Matt Ryan.
I'll tell you what. Maybe that might work out over there because Matt Ryan will not be there next year, and if Josh Rosen wants to prove himself, he can learn behind Matt Ryan for a whole season, and then maybe he can absorb that, and he can show a little something in training camp, you know? Maybe. They'll probably bring in another QB, like 1 or 2 more just to compete, obviously, but hey, at least they're giving him a shot, man, because that guy gets he doesn't get any sort of break out there.
Yeah, the other news to note about it is the Falcons didn't sign him until August in the middle of the preseason, and the only reason why they did was because their actual second-string quarterback is A.J. McCarron, who tore his ACL in week 2 of the preseason.
Yeah, sounds like they, that sounds about right. Pretty much had to sign him because somebody else got hurt. It definitely wasn't one of those, hey, come over here, we'll give you one more shot deal. They definitely gave that guy one just because they needed a body to fill.
Exactly.
Definitely. In our next game, the Bengals skull-drag the Lions 34-11. The Lions are the only team to have really not win a game this season. They're the only ones that have yet to really go winless in 6 weeks. Dan Campbell cries a little more each week, and that team loses its confidence a little more each week. I'd have to say, bro, I think the Lions might be obviously they're done, but in terms of the Lions winning a game, that pretty much took the energy out of it, because before the game against the Bengals, they always were in like 3-point games and stuff, but now it's like, nah. You know what I mean? Now it's like they're like in a game like this, just right. It just feels as if you know the last attempt at them being able to, like, you know, get a big win was just like all that energy was just sucked out of the room immediately.
Yeah.
Oh.
And especially getting beat in that fashion, as you said, all the games previously have been close. This one wasn't. And it was in Detroit, too. You know?
Yeah, it was in Detroit. So it's like those fans up close got to witness, like, the pain right in front of their eyes. Like, they just got to watch the Bengals take their season by the fingers and just watch it get skull-dragged up and down the field.
And with that being said, how about the Bengals? I mean, I think they're continuing to prove week in and week out that they may be a formidable team after all.
You know, 4-2, so far so good. I have to say, as long as they keep, like I said, man, as long as they keep Joe Burrow healthy, what he has with Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon on that offense is pretty special. I gotta say, man, it's working out. And by the way, you can tell, like, a lot of people criticize the Jamar Chase draft pick for the Bengals. I see exactly why Zach Taylor's like, nah, we need that guy here. And it makes perfect sense because Burrow loves throwing to him. Mixon, of course, when he actually has the lanes to run, knows how to run and put that team on his back. You know, he runs like Corey Dillon out there, old school Bengal. So, hey, I'm with it. Personally, I think the Oh, go ahead.
And their defense isn't doing too bad either.
Yeah, surprisingly, that defense isn't doing too bad. And usually their defense is garbage, but surprisingly, they're holding their own this year so far.
Yeah, they're holding their own. Jesse Bates is doing his thing on the back end of the safety.
Absolutely.
I think who was the person they signed in the offseason? Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson. Yeah.
Pass rusher. He's done okay. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Certainly worth looking out for them there. And our next game, oh boy, the Packers beat up on the Bears 24-14. By the way, I believe the Lions was one of my underdog picks for the weekend. That was one of our underdog picks. That was a terrible one on our behalf. However,
we only got one underdog pick right.
I was about to say the Jaguars pick was certainly a big one because nobody saw that coming. Everybody thought the Jaguars would lose that, but we got that one, so we can at least rest our head good on that. But boy, this was another one that I picked here. I thought the Bears would put up a good fight, and they did not. And not only that, Aaron Rodgers literally screamed in the faces of Bears fans that he owns them and that he's owned them his entire career, which is a fact. Aaron Rodgers pretty much reminding Chicago they have no hope of ever beating them in that division. Like, Aaron Rodgers is like, no, you have no hope. I own you. I own your fan base. I own your team. I own the trainers. I own everybody. This will be Aaron Rodgers Field instead of Soldier Field. You know, honestly, the Chicago.
Until the end of this season.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the Chicago Bears Wikipedia may as well have Aaron Rodgers written there as the owner. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it was that bad, bro. Like just listening to that after that touchdown, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. Hey, I'll tell you what though, Aaron 5-1 got the Packers 5-1. He's playing like an angry man this season, bro, and it's awesome to see. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little weird though that he screamed in their faces that he owns them, but. A little weird, but nonetheless, the man has some anger and passion in the fact that this is his last run in Green Bay. So, I'm with it.
They got off to a slow start, but he's hitting his stride now.
Absolutely. This is Aaron Rodgers' time, and that's when things are going to get interesting. And by the way, they play the Washington football team at home. Can you imagine the things he's going to yell at them as he puts up 50 points in Ron Rivera and Taylor Heineke's faces? Ugh. It's gonna be a massacre there in Lambeau. Everybody better bring out the beer and brats for that. And another underdog pick that went in the toilet. Good Lord, I didn't see this coming. You didn't see this coming. I don't think anybody did.
I don't think anybody did.
This was probably, I would say, easily the shocker of the weekend. Like out of every game,
I agree.
Yeah, easily the surprise of the weekend. The Ravens. They didn't skull drag. They didn't curb stomp the Chargers. They full on assaulted the Chargers, 34-6. It was not close. It was as if the Chargers didn't even get off the plane from L.A. in this game. The Ravens showed up, and
the Chargers weren't even in L.A. They were still in San Diego, bro.
Yeah. I know, right? Didn't even make it to L.A. They're still stuck in San Diego. My goodness gracious. Man, the Ravens not just stuck it to them, but this was a statement win for the Ravens because the Chargers were a dominant-looking force. Not dominant, but they were looking really good before this game. And I thought this was going to be a close one, maybe down to a touchdown or field goal, maybe a nice little shootout between Herbert and Jackson, but that didn't happen. Jackson ran all over him, threw all over him. And Herbert had probably the worst game of his entire, I'd say, not just season, maybe his career, bro. I think this might have been a career low for him.
It was definitely a horrible day for him and that entire Chargers offense.
Absolutely, man. The Chargers laid a complete egg. And I'll tell you what, they basically flew cross country at a 1 o'clock game, which means their body clocks were at 10 a.m. in the morning when kickoff was at 1 p.m. And the Ravens not just took advantage of the trip for the Chargers, but they just completely shut them down. They didn't allow the Chargers to get a groove. They stuck it to them early, and they kept their foot on their neck for the entire game. And honestly, it was a very dominant statement win for the Ravens. And 5-1, all the momentum in the world, going into a divisional game with the Bengals next week. That's going to be very interesting. Not like normal years where, we usually kick the Bengals in the face so they get a lucky win. No, it might actually be a good game this year.
Yeah, and I think another thing for the Ravens in this game, it was just good to see their running game really get going, because it was really the running backs that carried the Ravens in this game. Lamar Jackson didn't do a whole lot in this game. So
Absolutely.
It was really just the defense and the running game. Now, of course, it's worth noting, coming into this game, the Chargers were already the worst rushing defense in the league.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens are able to sustain that against some stronger opponents coming up.
Absolutely. That'll be very interesting to watch. In our next game, I was actually surprised by this. The Vikings, they actually beat the Panthers 34-28. They beat them by 6. The Vikings actually put up they put up a really good game here. It was capped off by a miracle touchdown by Osborne, a big bomb thrown from Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins actually coming through in the clutch is something that only happens during the regular season and will probably never happen on a primetime stage. But hey, this is the rare moment where he comes through with it. And it was a pretty damn good play, too. The Panthers kind of get shocked on this one. A lot of people had the Panthers, too. I even thought about putting them in the parlay, and that did not hit at all. But here's one that did hit. Here's one that did hit, though. We got to talk about this. The Cardinals remain unbeaten. And I got to be honest with you. I was genuinely shocked that they were underdogs, and I think we all see why. They kicked the Browns in the face 37-14, and this did not come without some casualties for the Browns, man. Did you see the injury report for the Browns?
Yeah, I mean, they were already without Nick Chubb before the game started, but
right.
Then to lose Kareem Hunt and everyone else, too.
Lost Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's on IR, which is really bad. Baker Mayfield's shoulder is so banged up that they are going to throw out Case Keenum on Thursday night against the Broncos, bruh. Case Keenum, a man who hasn't played since he got beaten up in that NFC Championship game when he played for the Vikings. I mean, my goodness gracious. That Browns team is banged up. And I got to say, man, once again, the proving that they are dominant at home and on the road. And honestly, I didn't understand why they were underdogs. And when that game started, I'm like, why the hell is this team an underdog? The Browns do not look like they're ready for them. And as the game progressed on, Baker Mayfield was getting his ass whipped, man. He was just getting destroyed to the point where his arm got crunched. And that man was he was just looking like a broken shell of himself. And I'm going to say this, by the way. And I've said this before, and I think it's starting to come true. The Browns... The reason the Browns are not as successful as they should be is because they don't have a quarterback. Baker Mayfield is not able to work with all those weapons. Think about all the weapons that they have on that team. That team is loaded on both sides of the ball. And yet, Odell Beckham Jr. wants to be traded because guess what? He's not getting the ball. The guy's wide open and Baker can't even get it to him. And I'm sorry, but Baker is okay. But is he going to be the quarterback to get them over the hump? No. Is he going to get them to a conference championship game? No. A Super Bowl? No. You know what I mean? He's good, but if that team around him wasn't as solid as it is, he wouldn't have made it to a playoff game. I don't even think the guy would have had a successful career. He would have been another Josh Rosen where he bounced around for a few teams, but because Baker's on a loaded team, he's able to survive a little longer than some other quarterbacks in the league. But I mean, hey, we can even put it as a hot take. The only reason the Browns will never succeed the way they should is because Baker sucks. I think it's plain and simple. What do you think?
I mean, he's definitely struggled this year. A lot of it, I feel like, is due to I mean, he's been wrestling with this shoulder injury since week 2, so he's been playing hurt for a while.
Right.
And I know that Odell Beckham, I think, didn't play the first couple of games of this year.
No, he did not.
And,
That's true.
And then I think Jarvis Landry went on IR in like week 2 or 3. So, I mean, I can see how, like, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Because in some ways, especially looking at some things last year, I agree with you.
Right.
I feel like this year is one of those years where it's like, I'll give him the mulligan just because of the fact that as talented as the team is, the Browns are basically the second most injured team in the league right now, next to the Ravens.
Right,
So,
and I mean, the guy can have a
kind of going to give him a pass, and Baker will probably be fine with this year, but like next year will truly be make or break.
It will be, and I can tell you right now, that boy's gonna break. He's gonna break. I've seen enough of Baker when healthy and hurt to know that he's not the QB for them. I feel like there's some other QBs in the league that are, I'd say a lot better at that position. Not just better at the position than him. I feel like they can command that team better than him, that offense better than he can, because I feel like for an offense that's very fast and that can get it done through the air and on the ground, they need a quarterback that's dynamic to kind of steer the ship, and I don't think he's the guy. At least evidence is showing that he's not the guy.
Most importantly, they need a quarterback because, like, when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are healthy,
yes,
they're the best running back duo in the league. So
right.
Really, they just need a quarterback that's not going to screw it up.
Right.
That's really, they really, for the most part, need a game manager who's going to make some good plays every now and then.
That is true.
And we all know Baker is more of a gunslinger type who he's going to take some risks that maybe don't need to be taken.
Yeah, that man takes way too many risks for his own good, for his own team's good. And by the way, you want to talk about risks, man? What the hell's going on with the Raiders? I mean, hey, they've won 2 in a row. I mean, they won one here, 34-24. They won it without, this is, what, the first game without Gruden, right? Or the second one?
Yes, it was.
The first game without Gruden, and they win by 10 points. Now, in no way, shape, or form does this prove that, hey, they didn't need Gruden all along. But what this does prove is maybe Gruden is not necessarily the coach to bring them over the top. Because if Gruden was that coach, this team would have fallen apart. The fact that this team is still able to play exceptionally well without him lets us know that while it didn't hurt the Raiders to get him, it didn't exactly help either, if that makes sense. It kind of feels with this team it feels that way because they're good enough to where they can get by and they can have success, and they don't necessarily need John Gruden to get it done. They have some old special teams coach filling in the role for the rest of the season. And look at them. They beat up on the Broncos by 10 points. And by the way, the Broncos look like trash, man. I don't know what the hell happened to them.
For me, I agree with you in the fact that, like, John Gruden's impact on the Raiders team is really indifferent at this point.
Right.
But for me, this game told me more about the Broncos than it did about the Raiders, and it told me that the Broncos absolutely suck.
Yeah, that's true, man. It really does speak more about the Broncos because the Broncos came out here and just play like trash, man. And it's funny because I thought the Broncos would be a better team this year, and I know you spoke highly of them as well. But they have done nothing but underachieve so far. That offense looks out of sync. That defense is basically Von Miller and everyone else trying to follow him. And it looks sloppy right about now. They can't really stop anyone, and they struggle to put points up at times.
Yeah, and at this point, I feel like it's starting to look like the real problem in Denver because you talk about those players. I mean, it feels like they have the talent, except for maybe I think we can all agree that Teddy Bridgewater isn't ultimately the quarterback that they want.
Right.
But
right.
Melvin Gordon's good. Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver, is good. Noah Fant is good. Granted, he's injured, but when he's playing, Jerry Jeudy will be good.
Right.
And then offensive line is okay. And then on defense, Von Miller, they got Justin Simmons in the back end. Yeah, they drafted, was it Patrick Surtain Jr.?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
I think they got another one. I think Kyle Fuller is playing for them too. Like, they have talent. I feel like this is all comes down to the fact that Vic Fangio is not a good head coach.
That is very true. They do need to get rid of Fangio. I've never really been a fan of his, and like you said, his play calling is starting to get exposed a bit, and it's to the point where it's like, all right, we need to reassess the head coaching position in Denver.
Yeah.
And by the way, in the next game, it's funny because you would think the NFL would love the matchup like the Cowboys and Patriots, but I think they only love it because the Patriots lost. The Cowboys win 35-29. Cowboys are 5-1. Cowboys fans are way too cocky. They're overconfident. They're talking all their crap like they do, man. Hey, look, they are in prime Cowboys mode. So I have to ask you: are the Cowboys going to fall flat, or is all this Cowboy excitement kind of justified right about now?
I want to believe that they're legit, but for me, for my money, for you to be legit, I need you to beat the Patriots.
Right.
By more than an overtime touchdown.
Yeah, like an overtime touchdown is like, okay, you beat them in a close game, but we're going to need you to skull drag them and make a statement there, put up 40, 50 points or something.
Now, granted, because I'm not going to be two-faced, obviously I'm going to sit here and also say that the Ravens are in a similar spot and they just barely beat the Lions and the Colts earlier this year. But I feel like the Cowboys, what they're missing is that they're missing that real signature win. Even though it's also worth it, the Cowboys also, like, their most signature win thus far this season, coincidentally, it was also against the Chargers.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see. I think the Chargers. I think the Cowboys are definitely a team in the NFC that they'll definitely be in the playoffs. I think they definitely have the chance to maybe win a game or two, but I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender yet.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I have to see it first. So if I see it, I think then I'll be happy with it. But yeah, I gotta see them do something. Speaking of overtime wins, though, the Steelers steal one from the Seahawks, 23-20, and I gotta say this: the fact that the Steelers needed overtime to beat Geno Smith tells me more about the Steelers than it does the Seahawks. The Seahawks are kind of doomed, but the Steelers suck.
Oh, yeah.
The Steelers are a vulnerable team, and dare I say, I think the Bengals are going to have the one-upsmen, are going to have one up on them this year. I mean, the Ravens are already at the top, but I think the Bengals are kind of going to overtake the Steelers a little bit in that division. At least it feels that way.
They already have. The Bengals already beat the Steelers earlier this season.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did already play each other. So you are correct. The Bengals already have the one-up on them, and I got to say, this win right here by the Steelers, yeah, they won, but they needed overtime to beat Geno Smith. That means that, hey, I'll tell you what, it easily tells us that the Steelers are a wounded team right about now. They are a wounded 3-3. They already have more losses than they did, I believe, at this part of the season last year. This part of the season last year, they went on an undefeated run, yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely, man, my goodness, the Steelers are certainly looking shaky. And, of course, by the way, news about the Seahawks. They have reached out to Cam Newton, and they are talking to Cam Newton about possibly bringing him in. And to be honest with you, after what I saw Geno Smith do on that Monday night, I'm ready for that. Like, go ahead and bring Cam Newton in. Apparently, Washington is too scared to bring him in there because of Ron Rivera's punk ass. So go ahead, Pete Carroll. Sign Cam Newton for us all, please.
I'm dead. He's a Ron Rivera's punk ass. I'm dead.
Hey, look, if Ron Rivera was smart, he would have signed him instead of that bum Heineke. You know what I mean? My goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy. Actually, no, not even Heineke. Fitzpatrick. My bad. Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, Gino put in an inspired effort.
He did, man. He really tried.
I'm ready to see Cam get a shot.
I feel you, man. Gino's a broken man, too. And by the way, this was easily, I'd say, game of the week right here. And I want to give a shout-out to my buddy Nick, who is he's actually one of my subscribers only over on my martial arts channel. He was at this Bills game, bro. He was there live. My guy was there live with some pretty front row seats. He got to witness a fucking classic of a football game. Fucking amazing, man. Shout out to you, Nick. You got to witness the Titans beat the Bills 34-31. He's a Bills fan, too, so he's a little heartbroken by this, but still, he got to witness a classic of a game up close. And I got to say, man, Derrick Henry is... when Derrick Henry wants to put the team on his back and carry them to victory, he can fucking do it. And I got to tell you this. So many people I know texted me, because a lot of people I know put money on the Bills. They were pissed off at that play call with McDermott. I'm going to say this. In that situation, when Derrick Henry's running all over the fucking defense, because let's face it, the Bills' defense, they weren't stopping him, and you have a chance to close this game out and not go to overtime to give Henry the chance to, run all over the defense again, you go ahead and take that shit. You go for the win. And the Bills did it, but fucking Josh Allen slipped, and that motherfucker was stuffed right at the line, and the game was over. It was fucking heartbreaking. If the man didn't slip, if he didn't slip on the field, Josh Allen's in that end zone. So I feel like that play call was not a terrible one. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I have no qualms with the play call, them going for the sneak. I mean,
right.
How big is Josh Allen? Josh Allen, that was a big man.
It's a big motherfucker right there.
Unfortunate that he slipped. Get that man some new cleats.
Right. That man needs some fucking metal spikes or something. I guess those rubber ones kind of slipped a little bit in the ground.
But I mean, at the end of the day, with that being said, I mean, the fact that they were even on fourth down to begin with, I mean, shout out to the Titans defense.
Yes.
For making the stop.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to him for making the stop. That was one hell of a goal line stand too, because that was for a lot of fans on both sides, that had to be nerve-wracking to see that. And that was one hell of a long yard for the Bills to get. I know Bills fans were waking up the next day like, what the fuck? You know? Like 1 yard. Just 1 yard, and they couldn't get it. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So, let's go to Thursday night. Oh, what's up?
It's a tough way to go.
Yeah. Tough way to go indeed. Let's go to Thursday night. However, let's go to sportsbetting.ag for the Thursday night lineup here. So let me flip over here for all of the gamblers that are going to watch this. So let's start with the Thursday night game. The Denver Broncos, Cleveland Browns. Broncos are at plus 105. Browns minus 125. You saw the injury report for the Browns. I know the Broncos also have some injuries as well. Do you think we see some potential underdogs here, or do you see an underdog win for the Broncos, or do you see the Browns having a limping victory on a Thursday night?
I want to pick the Broncos. I really do. But man, I mean, their loss to the Raiders is really not giving me a whole lot of faith in them.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I'll pick them anyway. I'll pick the Broncos anyway.
Yeah, I'm actually picking the Broncos as well. For those that want to gamble, I'm going to go ahead and say make that an underdog pick, because I think that that banged up Browns team is, I mean, they're going to be headed up by Case Keenum, you know what I mean? So if the Broncos,
no Kareem Hunt.
Right, absolutely. And honestly, if the Broncos can't beat them at that state, then we could pretty much put a fork in the Broncos for the remainder of the season. Personally.
I agree.
Absolutely. And the next game, look at this, man. Our first 1 o'clock game on Sunday, the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals are surprisingly plus 235 underdog, Ravens minus 290, the favorite, obviously. But I'll tell you what, I didn't think it would be plus 235 for the Bengals. I thought it was going to be a line like the first line where it's like plus 105 minus 125, where it's like a close contest here. But no, Vegas really likes the Ravens to put a little bit of a hurting on the Bengals. Do you think that's going to happen there? I have the Ravens winning that game, but do you think it's going to be a hurting though? Because the over, as you see, the point spread is 6 points. They're saying.
Yeah, I doubt that at all. I think it's definitely going to be a close game. I mean, as we've seen so far, it's tough to predict Ravens games this season. I think part of that spread is just coming off of the high of the Ravens taking out the Chargers in the manner that they did. But this is a division game, so these teams know each other well. and the Bengals won't become a cross country like the Chargers did. So I definitely think it'll be a much closer game. And it's possible the Bengals might get a W, but I'm picking the Ravens.
Absolutely. I'm going to pick the Ravens on that one. Folks, do not pick the underdog in this one. Definitely go for the favorite in the Ravens. Let's see. Our next game, we have the Panthers and Giants. Yeah, the Giants are cooked, as you could tell by that line. Plus 135, minus 160 for the Panthers. The Giants are at home, but this is just going to be another humiliating home loss for the Giants. That spread of 3 points is way too generous. It should be like 33. Give me the Panthers all day. I imagine that's who you got too, right?
Yeah, and to me, this is a huge game for the Panthers too. Like, I know, like it seems like on paper it's gonna be a blowout, but to me, the Panthers have a lot to prove in getting a win here on the road, having lost to the Vikings at home in overtime this past week.
Yeah.
And don't forget, the week before, last week, they lost a close one, let a game get away from them against the Eagles. They let the Eagles come back and beat them last week. So,
yeah,
the Panthers need this one.
Yeah, they can't lose to a 1-5 team. If they do, then their season's pretty much going to be in huge jeopardy at that point. And speaking of routes right here, we can pretty much confirm this is going to be a route. The Washington football team plus 315, Packers minus 410. Packers are at home and obvious favorites. The point spread is 8 points. My Lord. I'd say Packers easily, like by a route. Probably going to be over by halftime. If any Washington fans are traveling from D.C. to Green Bay, I advise you, sell your plane tickets, sell your hotel, sell everything. Don't bother to go to the game. It'll be over by the first quarter, and you'll be pissed wondering why you flew all the way out there just to watch your team get kicked in the face in one quarter. I'm pretty sure I covered it, don't you think?
Oh, man. Yeah, I got the Patriots as well.
Absolutely.
Before we go on to the next game, I also wanted to throw in a shout-out because we haven't talked about it yet. He will not be playing this week, so going back to the Panthers, the Panthers acquired Stephon Gilmore in a trade with the Patriots a few weeks ago, and even though Stephon Gilmore is not expected to play on Sunday, he did start practice with the Panthers today, so his return is imminent.
And the Panthers certainly do need that guy, so hopefully he can add on to that defense because they absolutely need it. With they lost their top pick for the year. That was a corner, I believe. Lost some guy over there.
Horn, I believe?
Yes, that is the one. I was thinking of his name, but yeah, they lost him for the year. So Gilmore filling that role is huge, and the fact that he's playing, the fact that his return is imminent and that he started practicing is a good sign. So. Yeah, the Panthers at least have that hole patched up, so let's see how that works out for them on the defensive side.
And I mean, the other thing is, too, is that earlier this year, about a month ago, they got C.J. Henderson from the Jaguars, who the Jaguars drafted. He was a top 10 pick 2 years ago.
Right.
Or this is his second season, and he already made his way out of Jacksonville to hopefully a better team and a better situation.
Absolutely. He's certainly going to need that better situation for his own sake. He's definitely going to need that. Our next game is the Chiefs and the Titans. The Chiefs are coming in at minus 245. The Titans at plus 195. I'm going to be honest with you. I know the Titans. I know the Titans just won in a heartbreak of a game, and like a heartbeat of a game, and the Chiefs just came off a blowout. But I don't know if that line is really appropriate. I mean, I guess the Chiefs can be obviously the favorites, but to have the Titans at plus 195 of an underdog seems a bit disrespectful. And you know what? Give me the Titans at home. This is a home game for the Titans. I say give me the Titans at home. That's going to be one of my underdog picks for the week. What do you think about that?
Oh, no, they're mine, too. I picked the Titans as well.
Oh, man.
The Chiefs have been looking vulnerable
yes.
and suspect all season long. And yeah, they got to win against Washington, but it's Washington. And let's not forget that the Chiefs, Washington was still in that game until like halfway through the third quarter.
Right.
That's when the Chiefs finally woke up, you know.
Right. That is a very important thing to mention. That first half was extremely close, and actually, Washington fans they actually had hope there for a second until it was ripped away from them in the third quarter. But they actually had hope going into halftime. And usually with the Chiefs team that's usually dominant, normally they have that game wrapped up by halftime, but not this time around.
Yeah, and I think something else to consider too. In recent years, when the Chiefs have been stronger, the Titans have been able to get one over on them, even when the Chiefs were at their strongest.
Absolutely.
The Titans have a couple regular season wins against the Chiefs in the past couple of years.
Absolutely. And it's very important too, because I'll tell you what, the Chiefs certainly needed that type of momentum. It's funny, they needed that type of momentum win, but at the same time, you can tell that they are struggling this year, man. They are just struggling on by, and it's not looking good for them like it normally does every other year. In that one, go ahead and give me the Titans as an underdog. In our next game, we have the Falcons and the Dolphins. The Falcons minus 140, Dolphins plus 120 at home. Give me the Falcons in that. The Dolphins seem like they're broken. What do you think?
Yeah, I hate to say it. Part of me wants to think the Dolphins can get it, but yeah, I'm thinking about giving the Falcons this win too. Falcons are coming off a bye as well, so
absolutely
well rested.
Yeah, that is true. It certainly would help them, and to get a road win, it would certainly help them out a lot. Patriots and Jets. Patriots minus 340, Jets plus 270. This one's easy. Go with the Patriots at home. The Jets have no shot, unfortunately.
I agree.
Good stuff. Rams and Lions. The Rams are at home. This is a revenge game for Matt Stafford and a revenge game for Jared Goff. Basically, the quarterback swap bowl right here. Jesus, look at that line. Plus 705 for the Lions, minus 1,010 for the Rams. I mean, the Rams are probably going to beat them by, 40 points, you think?
If I was a betting man, sure. Or I'll say 28 points.
Yeah, gotta be at least. I mean, hey, it's funny. The over-under is 50.5. Do you think that game's going to be over 50.5 combined points? With, the Lions putting up 10, the Rams putting up, 45?
Oh, my goodness.
I feel like that... Yeah, I feel like that could very well happen. So, folks, keeping your eye on that over-under. Don't bet on the teams, but the over-under point total, I would keep my eye on that. The Rams are probably going to run up that score. At least Stafford will want to do it on his old team, I imagine. In our next game, the Eagles and Raiders. And check this out, bro. The Raiders are a favorite, minus 165 at home, to the Eagles plus 140. Do you smell a potential underdog here with the Eagles? Do you think they could snatch one on the road in Vegas, or do you think Vegas is going to hold down the home field and get a win over the Eagles here as the favorite?
I think it could be a close game, but I do think the Raiders will protect the home field.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Eagles to protect the home field. So, folks, go ahead. Raiders to protect the home field. So, folks, go ahead and slide with the Raiders on that one. I actually agree with that as well. I have the Raiders. Buccaneers and Bears. Oh, this is going to be ugly. The Bears plus 530, minus 760 for the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are at home. Give me the Bucs at home in a rout. What do you think?
I agree.
Good stuff. We have the Texans and Cardinals. Oh, my goodness. Minus 1,600 for the Cardinals at home. And the Texans are the biggest underdog of the week at plus 925. I mean, yeah, I was about to say, they're going to be the biggest underdog for a reason. The Arizona Cardinals, by the way, the point total, I'm surprised it's only at 47.5. I thought it would hit the 50s because the Cardinals could very well put up 45 or more points on the Texans. It could very well happen.
They can. Their defense has been playing better too. So.
Absolutely. So you know what? Keep your eye on that over/under right there. So yeah, we're both in the Cardinals on that one. Colts and 49ers looks like it's going to be our Sunday night game of the week. 49ers are at home, minus 210 at home. The Colts plus 175 on the road. Who do you see taking this one, brother? You see an upset with the Colts on the road, or do you see 49ers holding it down out there in the Bay?
question is, who's starting at quarterback for the 49ers?
That is a good question because Trey Lance is he's hurt, right?
Yes. Or at least he was the last time we played.
That is true.
Let me check on Trey Lance's status.
Okay, so while you do, while you do that,
I will mention, by the way, that we were just talking about the Cardinals. Cardinals just made a trade earlier this week and got Zach Ertz from the Eagles.
Yes, they did. They have veteran tight end Zach Ertz from the Eagles, and that's a good trade for them. I'm not sure why the Eagles got rid of that guy because he's not exactly terrible, but now he's on an undefeated Cardinals squad that, dare I say, could very well use a veteran tight end on that team, and now they found one.
Yeah, and tight end was kind of a hole that they had in their roster too, where they could have used a starter.
That's true. That's true.
For an improvement there, and they get a veteran who's been there. Zach's got a Super Bowl ring, so he knows what it takes.
That's very true, and honestly, it's a deal that works out for both sides right there. So very, very good pickup right there. I'm glad you mentioned that one.
But getting back to this Colts and Niners game, so the official word, or not official word, but the rumors are that Jimmy Garoppolo will be making his return Sunday night as starting quarterback of the 49ers. Trey Lance still injured and unable to play. Has not practiced since the injury.
So, do you see a Carson Wentz upset, or does Jimmy G make his return and hold down the fort? It's
going to be a close matchup. I mean, as far as like high caliber teams, neither of these teams are at this point in the season. But that doesn't mean that they can't have a good football game. I think this will be a good football game.
That's true.
I kind of want to. I think I'm going to pick the Niners at home.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
It's a triumphant win coming back.
I can see that. The Colts coming off a confident win over a terrible Texans team. Go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take the 49ers as well. And I think they can certainly cover that -4 there. I certainly think they can cover by 4 points. But yeah, just give me the 49ers outright. And then our Monday night game. The Saints travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks. The Seahawks with Geno Smith. The Saints with Jameis Winston. -235 for the Saints. They are the favorites to the +190 Seattle Seahawks. I imagine you are going to go for New Orleans on the road here.
I am picking the Saints.
I am doing the exact same thing. Now that you mention it, so I'm going to pick the Saints. And by the way, my brother, just a little update here as I scroll down on mybookie.ag. The odds to win the Super Bowl as of right now, the top two teams, the top NFC team to win the Super Bowl is Buccaneers +500, and the top AFC team, I'd say that represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, is the Bills at +500. Those are the two top teams right now, I would say. And funny enough, the two bottom teams, of course, are the Jets at +150,000 and the Lions at +150,000. Good Lord. Right.
That's what it should be.
Absolutely right where it should be. It's kind of like an update of the standings. By the way, the Ravens' odds to win the Super Bowl this year, +1,000. +1,000. They have actually moved up the rankings here, and they have them side by side with the Cowboys, who are at +1,200. So Vegas thinking maybe Ravens-Cowboys. That'd be one hell of a Super Bowl, wouldn't it?
I mean, that's what happens when you get a convincing win against everyone's darling team in the Chargers, right?
That's true, bro. You start to get that consideration. Absolutely. So this week, folks, not too many underdogs, though. The only dogs that have any real potential that I can see and that we all can see is, let's see, the first dog we talked about was, hold on. Let me scroll back up here. We talked about the
Broncos.
That's right, the Broncos was the first, and the Titans was the other one, right? Yeah, I believe it was. So Broncos Thursday night, +105. And then, of course, the Titans plus 195 are best plays of the week. Not too many underdogs this week, folks. And actually, it's funny. It's funny, B Money. Funny that your name is B Money. One of the things you're going to notice about gambling trends, and actually, this kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about it. As the season goes on, it's going to be a lot more difficult to pick out who the underdogs are going to be because every team's going to be established by then, and you're going to know who's who and who does what. The injury reports are going to shift, so maybe in games where there are high amount of injuries, you can maybe get an underdog win or two. But yeah, like we're going to hit the point of the season now where you're going to really know which team is safe to bet on and which team is not safe to bet on and pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is the glory of the football season. Now we're going to see these teams unwrap. We have exactly 6 weeks down. We are entering week number 7. And folks, I'd say with that being said, things are about to get real interesting. Is there anything you would like to close off with before we get out of here?
Yeah, my last one, last little thing here. I got a question for you, and then I'll answer it.
Okay.
So we're coming up close, since we're getting in the middle of the season, we're coming up close to the trade deadline.
Okay.
We mentioned earlier a couple of trades that have already been made, as well as a possibility that Deshaun Watson may be on the move soon.
Right.
So I ask you, is there any player or team that you think is going to make a move other than Deshaun Watson between now and the trade deadline?
Any other player you think will be moved?
Yes.
Let's see. The one candidate I wanted to put out there was Odell, but I don't think that's going to happen with Beckham. I don't think that's going to be a possibility. One that I do very well see, though, even though he's a free agent, is going to be Cam Newton. I feel like somebody's going to sign Cam Newton. Seems like the Seahawks are going to be the candidate for that. But in terms of like a player being traded or moved, now that's where things get a little difficult because a player that gets traded or moved. You know what? I could see. Let me scroll down a little bit. Let me see some teams here. Because I feel like at least one major player can be moved in the league. Let me see. Jets, no. Rams, no. Raiders, no. Huh. Yeah, that's difficult. Actually, you know what? Wait a minute. I think I know. So, you know how we talked about Jimmy G's return for the 49ers?
Yes.
Let's say that return goes horribly wrong. Do you think it is possible that Jimmy G is shipped out of town and basically the Niners are sending the message of we're going to be in the Trey Lance business moving forward? I could very well see that happening.
I only don't see that happening because with the trade deadline less than 2 weeks away and Trey Lance not cleared to play,
Yeah.
I feel like that confirms that Jimmy G will at least finish the season as a 49er because I get the feeling that Trey Lance won't be healthy in time for them to trade him before the deadline.
He's definitely not. It is clear that they want to get rid of Jimmy, but yeah, that injury really derailed a lot of their plans. Other than him, though, like there's really nobody else that can be moved that I could think of because when I look at all the rest of the squads, the only other team that really would be in the market for anybody, of course, is I would say the Atlanta Falcons trying to get rid of. They already got rid of Julio. I imagine they want to get rid of Matt Ryan at some point because they already know they're not going to win anything. But the problem is, I think Matt Ryan's probably going to finish out the season as a Falcon, and then they're going to get rid of him. He's the only other candidate I put out there. And by the way, I would say in a perfect world, by the way, I would love for the Vikings to just ship Kirk Cousins out in a box. Like, I don't care what team he lands on, just get him the hell out of there. But that won't happen, at least not this year. So, let's see. I'd say that's probably the only. Yeah, that's probably the only one. I don't really see anyone that's eligible to really be moved. Do you see or know of anyone that you think could be moved?
Well, I guess when I'm thinking about this question, I'm thinking about the teams that are on the low end of the league and who their stars are. I mean, obviously, when you look at the team, you look at the Giants, but Saquon's injured. You look at the Jets, and they don't really have any stars. I mean, if anything, maybe you could look at someone like a C.J. Mosley getting traded. But I don't think that's going to happen. The Patriots already traded Stephon Gilmore,
Right.
and I don't think there's really any other stars on that team that could go. One person that definitely I think is going to get traded, Colts running back Marlon Mack. The question is, where is he going to land?
I'm thinking where could he go possibly?
Yeah, there's rumblings of the Chiefs being interested in getting a Marlon Mack. I wouldn't mind the Ravens picking him up. So I think that's definitely a name to throw around, Marlon Mack, about possibly getting traded.
Okay. All right. I guess that could be one name, but yeah, Marlon Mack I thought about, but like who would really like jump on that? I guess some people could really use a running back, but I wonder what the Colts would offer up for him though.
Yeah.
Another.
I mean, I'm sure that they'll only be looking for draft picks, but I think that'll be interesting. I also wouldn't be surprised if, I know they're looking at trying to bring in Deshaun Watson, and that may change things, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins maybe got rid of somebody, just because of how the season hasn't really panned out for them. So,
yeah, they probably will. They probably will. I don't know if it's going to be anyone significant, but yeah, they're going to get rid of some people. But I know that, by the way, the Washington football team just cut their kicker, Dustin Hopkins, funny enough. And by the way, you won't believe who they signed. They signed a guy whose name is Chris, and his last name is Blewett. That's literally his last name.
Dang, that's funny.
That is literally just like that. That's literally his last name, Christopher Blewett.
He's perfect for the Washington football team then.
Right, and you know what? The Washington football team probably looked at that name and said, you know what? He fits right in, sign him. But yeah, man, Dustin Hopkins, the kicker, got cut. And you know what? It's funny because he's had that coming for a while. I'm surprised he lasted this long, but I wonder I wonder what squad will be signing him, because with all the missed kicks we've seen this year, I could easily see a team desperately picking him up.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, and by the way, there are quite a bit of teams that are in the market for a kicker. I mean, with all the shanks that we've seen this year, we could, you know what, if you want to talk about players getting moved or picked up, we might see some kickers get shuffled around here a little bit. Either shuffled around or you'll see random ones get picked up.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. But yeah, Dustin Hopkins, man, a casualty earlier today. I completely forgot to mention that. But yeah, the Washington football team cut that man earlier today, and they signed just some new guy off the street. So hopefully they have their kicking issues solved. But I imagine some other teams are probably going to follow suit. If there's going to be any major moves, don't be surprised if it's mainly like kickers getting shuffled.
Yeah, that's possible.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, hey, that is the show for the week. I'm glad we got everything wrapped up. That you got everything out, right? That's everything we got for the week?
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Want to make sure we tackled all the topics this time. But yeah, man, hey, it's going to be a wild week 7. By the way, the NBA season actually tipped off this week too, so a lot happening. MLB playoffs happening. Hockey's back. Football, of course, is in week number 7, so quite a lot happening in sports. But the NFL season is just heating up, ladies and gentlemen, with week 7 now underway. I would say this is the point where we're not just hitting that halfway point. We're hitting the point where now the divisional games are about to start for a lot of these other teams, and we're really about to see a lot of competitive football being played. So, a lot of fun times ahead. And, of course, for your boy Jay Smooth, B Money, thank you for being here. You'll be here the week after, right, for week 8, right?
Correct.
All right, so, hey, have a good week off, brother. Of course, take care of business, and we will see you for week 8. And, folks, I will see you next week. Enjoy the games, and we will talk to you soon. Until then, have yourselves a good evening.